Let me ask you something real. Have you ever felt like you're just emotionally drained? Like no matter how hard you try to stay strong, life keeps tossing curveballs your way. Stress, setbacks, uncertainty, and it's wearing you down from the inside out? If so, you're not alone. In today's fast-paced world, emotional exhaustion has become the norm. We're constantly pulled in a dozen directions, juggling work, relationships, responsibilities, all while trying to hold ourselves together. And somewhere along the way, we start to believe that being strong means pushing harder, doing more, keeping everything under control. But what if real strength didn't look like that at all? What if emotional strength wasn't about how much you can carry, but about what you choose to let go of? What if it's less about tightening your grip and more about mastering your response? That's where Stoic wisdom comes in. You see, the ancient Stoics, think Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, Seneca, weren't focused on controlling the chaos around them. They focused on the one thing they could control: their inner world, their mindset, their choices, their reactions. And that's the heart of today's message. Emotional strength doesn't come from avoidance or denial. It comes from response, from choosing again and again to meet life not with panic or resistance, but with clarity, self-awareness, and grace. So in this episode, I'm going to walk you through 10 powerful habits inspired by Stoic philosophy, practical, grounded habits that can help you become emotionally stronger every single day. But here's the thing. This isn't about turning into some emotionless robot or pretending nothing bothers you. It's about cultivating a quiet strength, a strength that holds firm not because it's unbreakable, but because it knows how to bend. Imagine starting your day with a sense of peace instead of panic. Imagine facing tough conversations without spiraling. Imagine learning to pause before reacting or finding purpose even in difficult seasons. That's what these 10 habits are about. They're not theories, they're tools. Tools to help you live with more depth, more calm, more resilience. So whether you're facing a personal storm, rebuilding after a loss, or just tired of feeling emotionally scattered, this episode is for you. You deserve to feel strong, not just on the outside, but deep within. And if you're willing to slow down, reflect, and show up for yourself in a new way, what we're about to explore might just change the way you live your life. Let's begin. Habit 1. Identify what you can control. Now let's take it a step further. What are you trying to control right now that you actually can't? Let me ask you something that most people never pause to consider. Are you spending your energy on things you can actually control or on things you can't? It's a simple question, but the answer can quietly change your life. Most of us wake up and without thinking, dive straight into the chaos. We check our phones, worry about the day ahead, try to predict how others will behave, stress over news we can't change, or overanalyze that one text message we haven't replied to yet. Before we've even had our first cup of coffee, we're already mentally exhausted. Why? Because we're trying to manage the unmanageable. We've handed over our emotional well-being to circumstances, to other people's moods, to outcomes we can't fully control. But here's the powerful truth the Stoics understood. You have a choice. You can either let life's noise control you, or you can reclaim your power by focusing only on what is truly yours. This is where habit number 1 comes in. Start each day by identifying what's within your control and what isn't. It sounds basic, but don't mistake simplicity for weakness. This habit is like mental jujitsu. It helps you redirect your emotional energy away from what drains you and toward what strengthens you. So what is within your control? Your choices, your words, your reactions, your effort, your values, and what's not, pretty much everything else. You can't control the traffic on your commute, but you can control whether you breathe through it calmly or curse the entire way. You can't control if your coworker's in a bad mood, but you can choose to remain grounded, professional, and centered in your response. This shift from reacting to everything to selectively responding is the foundation of emotional strength. Let me share a moment from my own life. There was a time I used to get caught up in things that didn't belong to me, other people's opinions, online arguments, whether someone liked me or not. I felt constantly off-center, like my peace was always at the mercy of something else. But when I started asking myself, is this within my control? It was like flipping a switch. Instead of wasting energy on what others thought, I began investing it in how I showed up. Instead of obsessing over outcomes, I focused on intentions. And gradually, the noise faded. That one small habit gave me back mental clarity, emotional freedom, and a deeper sense of self-respect. So here's something simple you can try tomorrow morning. Before diving into your day, ask yourself, what is in my control today? Where am I tempted to waste energy on things that aren't mine to fix? How can I shift my attention back to my attitude, my effort, and my values? It's not about being indifferent. It's about being deliberate. Because when you focus on what's yours and release what's not, you stop feeling helpless and start feeling empowered. The Stoics weren't cold or disconnected. They were wise. They knew that freedom isn't about controlling the world. It's about controlling how you meet the world. And the more you practice this, the more resilient, calm, and clear you'll become. So if you're ready to stop being at the mercy of everything around you, start with this. Own what's yours. Let go of what's not. That's where real strength begins. Habit 2. Practice the inner pause before reacting. This brings us to another powerful mindset shift. When was the last time you paused before reacting? Imagine you're stuck in traffic. Someone cuts you off suddenly. Do you explode in frustration or take a breath and let it go? That one moment defines your emotional strength more than 100 good days ever could. Have you ever said something in the heat of the moment and instantly wished you could take it back? We all have. It's that surge of emotion, anger, frustration, anxiety that takes over before we even realize it. One second you're calm, and the next, you're reacting. Words fly, tension rises, and often regret follows. But what if I told you that between every trigger and every response, there's a space, and in that space, you have power. The power to choose not just how you react, but who you become in that moment. This is the essence of habit 2. Practice the inner pause. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus said it best. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Life is full of unexpected moments. Someone cuts you off in traffic, a loved one says something hurtful, a plan falls apart. But none of those events define you. What defines you is how you respond. And here's the thing. Reacting is easy. Responding with clarity, with wisdom, with intention, that's strength. So what does it look like to practice this inner pause? It starts with something deceptively simple. Awareness. That brief second when you notice your heart rate rising, your muscles tensing, your mind racing. Instead of jumping into action, you breathe. Yes, just breathe. That breath becomes your anchor, a signal to your body and mind. Wait, I don't have to react right now. I can choose. You might count to 5. You might excuse yourself from the room. You might even just place a hand on your chest and ground yourself. This pause isn't about suppressing your emotions. It's about meeting them with grace. It's saying, I see you, I feel you, but I'm not letting you run the show. Over time, this practice becomes a muscle. And like any muscle, it strengthens with repetition. Let me give you a real-world example. Imagine you're in a tense meeting. Someone challenges your idea, not respectfully, but with a dismissive tone. That rush of irritation bubbles up fast. In the past, maybe you would have snapped back or shut down. But now with this habit, you pause, you breathe, and instead of reacting with ego, you respond with intention. Maybe you calmly ask for clarity. Maybe you choose to hold your ground respectfully. Or maybe you say nothing and preserve your peace. That one pause, it changes the entire trajectory of the interaction. More importantly, it preserves your integrity. Think about this. How many emotional storms in your life began with a moment you didn't pause? And how different might your relationships, your self-respect, and your peace be if you just built a little space between trigger and reaction? Practicing the inner pause doesn't make you emotionless. It makes you emotionally wise. It teaches you that you don't have to be ruled by your feelings to be honest about them. You don't have to shout to be heard. You don't have to explode to make a point. Sometimes your calmest response is your strongest one. So today, just try it once. When something rubs you the wrong way, pause. One breath. One question. What kind of person do I want to be in this moment? Let that question lead your next move, not your impulse. Because the strongest version of you is never the one who reacts first. It's the one who pauses, reflects, and then responds with purpose. Habit 3, be honest with yourself. If that resonated with you, this next habit might hit even deeper. What truth about yourself have you been avoiding? Let's be real for a moment. What's harder, facing the truth or pretending everything is fine? Sometimes it's easier to smile and push through than to admit something isn't working. We tell ourselves we're okay, that it's not that bad, that we'll deal with it later. But deep down, we know. There's something we've been avoiding. Maybe it's a habit that's slowly hurting us. Maybe it's a relationship we've outgrown. Maybe it's a decision we made that doesn't sit right anymore. And here's the uncomfortable truth. You can't grow from what you're not willing to face. That's why habit 3 is so important. Be honest with yourself, not in a harsh, self-critical way, but in a courageous, compassionate way. The kind of honesty that says, I care enough about my future to stop lying to myself today. Radical self-honesty isn't about tearing yourself apart. It's about taking full ownership of your inner world, your choices, your patterns, your truths. The Stoics believe that wisdom begins with knowing yourself. Epictetus said, first, know who you are, then adorn yourself accordingly. Meaning, don't just build a version of yourself that looks good from the outside. Build a life that aligns with who you truly are, deep down. That starts with looking in the mirror and asking, what am I pretending not to know? Where am I making excuses? What truth have I been avoiding? It's not always easy. In fact, it's often uncomfortable. But discomfort is the price of clarity, and clarity is the birthplace of growth. Let me share something personal. There was a time when I kept chasing achievements, telling myself I was doing it for the right reasons. But if I was really honest, I was trying to prove something, not to the world, but to myself. I was trying to outrun my own insecurity. That realization hurt, but it also freed me. Because once you admit your truth, you stop hiding from it. You stop pretending, you stop performing, and you start living from a place of alignment. That's what emotional strength looks like. Not perfection, but integrity. Not flawless confidence, but quiet courage. So how do you build this habit? Start small. Set aside 5 minutes a day, maybe at night, maybe while journaling, and ask yourself, where did I show up authentically today? Where did I avoid something I know I need to face? What's one truth I can admit to myself without shame? Don't judge. Just notice. You'll be amazed at what clarity begins to unfold. And with that clarity comes power. The power to change, to heal, to move forward with purpose. Because when you're honest with yourself, even the hard truths become fuel. They stop being obstacles and start becoming direction. So let me leave you with this. You don't have to have it all figured out. You don't have to get everything right. But you do have to be real with yourself, because the most dangerous lies are the ones we quietly tell ourselves. And the most liberating truth is that you already have everything you need to begin again once you're willing to face what's true. So today, be brave enough to look within, not to judge, just to understand. Because that kind of honesty, it's the first real step toward emotional freedom. Habit 4, reflect on daily events. Let's turn the mirror inward for a moment. How did you respond to discomfort today? Was it helpful? Let me ask you something simple, but powerful. When was the last time you truly sat with your day and looked back with intention? Not just replaying what went wrong, not scrolling mindlessly until you fall asleep, but really taking a moment to ask yourself, what did I do well today? What could I have done better? How did I respond to the world and to myself? This quiet moment, just 5 minutes at the end of your day, can quietly change your life. It's called reflection, and it's the fourth habit of emotional strength. You see, most of us live on autopilot. We move from one task to the next, checking boxes, answering emails, rushing through conversations, and then collapsing into bed, hoping tomorrow will be better. But better doesn't just happen. Growth doesn't come from movement alone. It comes from awareness, from intention, from reflection. The Stoic emperor Marcus Aurelius knew this. Each night he wrote in his journal, not for the public, not for legacy, but for himself, to ask, where did I act in line with my values today? Where did I falter? What can I learn before I close this chapter? And that practice, it became the foundation of his wisdom. So what if we did the same? What if, instead of letting the day disappear into distraction, we pause just for a moment to learn from it? Because here's what happens when you reflect. You notice patterns. You catch the small emotional triggers before they grow into storms. You recognize progress you would have otherwise overlooked. And more importantly, you reconnect with yourself. Let me share a small example. There was a time in my life when I felt constantly reactive. I'd go through my days putting out fires, always overwhelmed, rarely grounded. But when I started ending each day with a simple journaling ritual, just a few lines of honesty, something shifted. I began to see where I was giving too much energy to the wrong things. I started to realize which conversations drained me and which ones lifted me up. And slowly, without forcing change, I began to live better because I was seeing better. So here's your invitation. Tonight, before you reach for your phone or turn on Netflix, sit in stillness for 5 minutes. Ask yourself, what am I proud of today? What challenged me? And how did I show up? Is there anything I need to release, forgive, or carry forward with more intention? Write it down, or simply think through it while brushing your teeth. It's not about judgment, it's about clarity. And clarity is the foundation of resilience. Because when you know where you stand today, you're better equipped to grow tomorrow. Reflection doesn't require hours or perfection, just honesty, curiosity, and the willingness to learn from your own life. And over time, this small habit becomes your compass. It keeps you aligned when life pulls you off track. It gives you grace for your mistakes and motivation for your progress. It helps you live more fully, not by adding more, but by understanding more. So tonight, don't just end your day. Honor it, review it, learn from it, because the wisdom you're looking for, it's already within your day, waiting to be noticed. Habit 5, practice daily gratitude. So far, we've focused on mindset. Now let's talk about what you actually do. Daily. What's something small you overlooked today that you could feel grateful for? Here's something you might not hear often in the hustle of everyday life. You already have more than enough to feel fulfilled today. You just might not be seeing it clearly. In a world that constantly pushes us to want more, achieve more, chase the next thing, it's easy to overlook what we already have. We get stuck in a mindset of scarcity, feeling like we're always behind, always lacking something. But the Stoics knew something different. They understood that peace doesn't come from adding more. It comes from noticing more. That's why habit 5 is so powerful. Practice daily gratitude, not as a cliche, not as a quick fix, but as a genuine shift in how you experience life. Seneca, one of the great Stoic thinkers, once wrote that a good character is built not in a single moment of triumph, but in the small, consistent choices we make every day. Gratitude is one of those choices, because when you focus on what's going right, even something as simple as a warm meal, a kind word, a soft sunrise, you begin to see the richness that already exists in your life. And that shift, it changes how you face adversity. It gives you strength during tough seasons. It brings you back to the present, where life is actually happening. Let me give you a small example. I remember a time when I was chasing so many goals at once, trying to grow, trying to prove, trying to become. And yet, no matter how much progress I made, I still felt empty. It wasn't until I started asking myself each morning, what am I grateful for today, that something changed. At first, the answers were small: my morning coffee, my health, a friend who texted me back. But over time, I realized those small things were actually everything. They were the foundation of my strength. They reminded me I was supported, connected, alive. Gratitude grounds you. It pulls you out of fear, out of comparison, out of chasing. It centers you in what is already enough, and it doesn't take much. Try this simple habit. Each morning or evening, write down just 3 things you're grateful for. Not huge, life-changing things, just real present moment gifts, like the laughter of someone you love, or the quiet moment when no one's asking anything from you, or the fact that despite it all, you made it through another day. Over time, you'll start noticing blessings you used to overlook. You'll begin responding to life with more calm, more appreciation, more heart. Gratitude doesn't make your problems disappear, but it gives you the strength to meet them with perspective. It reminds you that not everything is broken, that even in the middle of chaos, there is still good. So if you're feeling overwhelmed, anxious, or empty, don't rush to add more. Instead, pause. Look around. Ask yourself, what's already beautiful that I've been too busy to see? Because chances are, the life you want to feel is already within reach. You just need to look again with grateful eyes. Habit 6. Learn the art of letting go. Ready to go deeper? Let's explore this next one together. Is there something you're holding on to that's no longer serving your growth? Let me ask you something gentle, but real. What are you still holding on to? that may be quietly holding you back. Maybe it's a person, a version of who you used to be, a plan that didn't go the way you hoped, or maybe it's the belief that things should have worked out differently. Whatever it is, carrying it day after day can be heavy. And over time, that weight doesn't just sit on your shoulders, it settles in your heart. But here's the truth the Stoics embraced. Loss is not failure. Change is not your enemy. Letting go is not weakness, it's part of life. And learning to let go, truly let go, is one of the deepest expressions of emotional strength. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Loss is nothing but change, and change is nature's delight." Think about that for a moment. What if instead of fearing loss, you saw it as life evolving? What if every ending wasn't a door closing, but a quiet redirection toward something else, something still unseen? Because the truth is, everything in life is temporary. People, seasons, success, even certainty. Trying to control or preserve what's slipping away only deepens our suffering. Letting go doesn't mean you didn't love deeply. It doesn't mean you didn't try hard enough. It simply means you're choosing peace over control. And that's one of the most empowering choices you can ever make. Let me share something personal. There was a time in my life when I clung tightly to an identity that no longer fit me. I had outgrown it, but I feared what might come next. So I stayed in the situations I had already outlived, thinking that holding on was strength. But the longer I held on, the more disconnected I became. From myself, from the present, from possibility. It wasn't until I surrendered, until I finally said, "I don't need to control this anymore," that I felt something shift. And in that space, after the letting go, peace walked in. That's the hidden gift. Letting go doesn't leave you empty. It clears space for something truer to enter, something more aligned with where you're going, not just where you've been. So how do we practice this? Start by asking, what am I clinging to out of fear, not love? What would I feel if I released my grip? Would I feel lighter? Am I making room for what's next? Or am I still chasing what's gone? You don't have to force it. Letting go is a process, not an event. It starts with acceptance, with the willingness to say, "This no longer serves me, and that's okay." Whether it's a past relationship, an unfulfilled goal, or just the illusion of control, releasing it gives your heart space to breathe again. And no matter how uncomfortable it feels, that space, that's where growth begins. So if you're carrying something heavy today, let this be your reminder. You are allowed to let go, not because you gave up, but because you're strong enough to move forward with open hands and an open heart. As the Stoics believed, loss is just change, and change, if you let it, can be life's most beautiful teacher. Habit 7, set clear priorities. What if you could shift your energy with just one habit? Are your daily actions aligned with what matters most to you? Let me ask you something quietly powerful. Are you spending your time on what truly matters to you? Or are you constantly putting out fires, saying yes to things that don't align, and ending the day wondering, what did I actually accomplish? It's a common feeling. Life moves fast. There are deadlines, notifications, family obligations, endless to-do lists. And without realizing it, we often let urgency take the wheel, while what truly matters gets left behind. But here's the truth. Emotional strength isn't just about staying calm. It's about staying focused. And that begins with setting clear priorities. You see, not everything that's urgent is important. Just because something is loud doesn't mean it deserves your energy. Just because everyone else is doing it doesn't mean it fits your path. The Stoics deeply understood this. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most powerful men of his time, wrote in his personal meditations about the importance of directing attention toward right action, not reaction. He reminded himself daily to filter out the noise and focus on what was truly worthy of his energy. You can do the same. The key is to define what truly matters to you, not to your job title, not to your inbox, not even to other people's expectations, but to your core values, your long-term vision, your deeper why. Let me share a quick story. There was a time when I said yes to almost everything. Every opportunity, every invitation, every favor. I was busy from sunrise to bedtime, but strangely I didn't feel fulfilled, just tired and disconnected from myself. One night I asked myself a hard question. If I keep living like this, what am I really building? That question changed everything. I started writing down my top 3 priorities, just 3. Each morning I check in. Are my actions today aligned with these, or am I letting distractions take over? The result? Less chaos, more meaning, a sense of control, not over the world, but over my time, my energy, my purpose. So how do you start this? Here's a simple practice. At the beginning of your week, or even each day, ask yourself, what are the 2 to 3 things that truly matter to me right now? Are my daily actions aligned with those things? What can I say no to so I can say yes to what matters most? This habit doesn't just give you more focus, it protects your emotional energy. Because when you align your time with your values, you stop feeling so pulled, so scattered, so reactive. You start showing up from a place of grounded intention. Remember, you don't need to do more. You need to do what matters. Your life doesn't have to be filled. It needs to be aligned. So if you've been feeling emotionally drained, overwhelmed, or off course, maybe it's not because you're weak. Maybe it's just time to reset your priorities. Start small. Start today. Choose clarity over chaos, purpose over pressure, and watch how your emotional strength begins to rise. Not from doing it all, but from doing what truly matters. Habit 8. Protect your emotional energy. Guard the gate to your inner peace. Who or what drains your energy, and why are you still letting it? Let me ask you a simple but important question. How many times have you felt emotionally drained? Not by what happened to you, but by who you gave your energy to. Maybe it was a difficult conversation that went nowhere. Maybe it was someone's constant negativity. Maybe it was a pointless argument online that left you more frustrated than before. Whatever it was, here's the truth. Your emotional energy is not unlimited. It's not something to be handed out carelessly. It's a vital resource, and it needs to be protected. Marcus Aurelius once reminded himself, you don't have to turn this into something. It doesn't have to upset you. That quote alone is a powerful lesson in emotional preservation. You see, not every person deserves a response. Not every situation requires your opinion. Not every invitation to conflict needs to be accepted. When you learn to protect your emotional energy, you're not being cold. You're being wise. You're choosing peace over proving a point. You're valuing your well-being over being right. Epictetus, the Stoic philosopher, taught that other people's actions are beyond our control, but how we respond, that's fully within our power. Yet far too often we give our power away to the critic who doesn't understand us, to the complainer who never changes, to the gossip that has nothing to do with us. And we wonder why we're tired. Here's a truth most people don't say out loud. Some people thrive on drama, and your attention is their fuel. So how do you stop the cycle? Start by setting emotional boundaries, not walls. Boundaries. Boundaries that say, I don't have to explain myself to everyone. I can walk away from conversations that steal my peace. I'm allowed to prioritize my energy, even if others don't understand. Protecting your energy doesn't mean isolating yourself. It means being intentional about where your attention goes. It means realizing that silence can be a superpower, that walking away can be an act of strength, not surrender. You are not obligated to attend every argument you are invited to. You are not weak for choosing peace over conflict. You are not cold for protecting your emotional space. You are wise. You are grounded. You are practicing the Stoic art of emotional discernment. So next time you feel tempted to respond, to justify, to react, pause. Ask yourself, is this worth my energy? Does this align with the person I'm trying to become? If the answer is no, let it pass, because protecting your emotional energy is not selfish. It's self-respect in action. And the more you honor that boundary, the stronger you become, not just emotionally, but in every part of your life. Habit 9. Practice mental detachment. Find calm in a noisy world. Can you observe your thoughts without becoming them? Let me ask you something quietly honest. Have you ever found yourself overwhelmed, not just by events, but by everything happening around you? The news, the drama, the endless stream of opinions, alerts, and other people's emotions. And before you know it, you feel drained, not because of what's happening inside you, but because of everything coming at you. That's why one of the most powerful habits you can develop for emotional strength is this: practice mental detachment. Now I know detachment can sound cold, but true detachment isn't about checking out. It's about checking in with clarity, presence, and strength. The Stoics mastered this skill. Epictetus taught, it's not things that upset us, but our judgments about them. In other words, it's not just what's happening that hurts. It's how we absorb it, internalize it, carry it around. Mental detachment means you stay present, aware of what's unfolding, but you don't let it invade your peace. You don't react impulsively. You don't personalize every comment. You don't let the chaos of the world rewrite your inner calm. You pause. You breathe. You choose how to respond, if at all. Let me give you a personal example. There was a time when every criticism, every disagreement, every bit of bad news would rattle me. I was constantly reacting, defending, explaining, overthinking. It felt like I was at the mercy of everyone else's energy. Until one day I read something simple but life-changing. Not everything deserves your reaction. And that became a filter. Before engaging with anything, an email, a conversation, a headline, I'd ask, does this align with my values? Is this something I need to respond to, or just something I feel triggered by? Will engaging bring clarity, or just more noise? That filter gave me back my power. Mental detachment is not disconnection. It's emotional boundaries. It's saying, I see what's happening, but I choose not to be consumed by it. It's a way to protect your energy, not from people, but from losing yourself in things you can't control. Think about it. You don't open every email. You don't eat everything you see. So why react to every emotion that passes your way? Here's a practice you can try today. When something stirs you emotionally, pause and name it. I'm feeling anxious. I'm feeling provoked. Then ask, is this mine to carry, or can I observe it and let it pass? This simple pause builds resilience. It teaches your nervous system, not everything is a threat. Not everything is yours to fix. You were never meant to absorb the weight of the world. Your strength isn't in reacting to everything. It's in knowing what deserves your energy and what doesn't. So if you've been feeling overwhelmed, maybe it's not that you're weak. Maybe you just haven't been filtering. And today, you start, not by building walls, but by building wisdom. Habit 10, set a daily purpose. Start with meaning, not just motion. What is one intention you can set tomorrow that brings you closer to peace? Let me ask you something personal. When you woke up this morning, did you know what really mattered today? Not your calendar, not your inbox, not that endless to-do list, but something deeper, something that gave your day direction and meaning. If you didn't, don't worry, you're not alone. Most people wake up and start reacting. Emails, notifications, demands, distractions. And by the time their head hits the pillow, they've done 100 things but still feel empty. That's the difference between activity and purpose. Here's the habit that can quietly transform everything. Start each day with one clear, meaningful intention. It doesn't have to be grand. It doesn't have to impress anyone. It just needs to matter to you. Maybe it's be fully present with my family. Maybe it's speak with honesty, even if it's uncomfortable. Maybe it's learn something that feeds my mind. Or even take one small step toward that goal I've been avoiding. This one purpose becomes your inner compass. It grounds you when things get chaotic. It gives your actions meaning beyond the noise. The Stoics knew this deeply. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, "At dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, I'm rising to do the work of a human being, not to chase applause, not to rush through checklists, but to live in alignment with what matters." You see, we often overestimate how much we need to do and underestimate how powerful one purposeful act can be. Helping a stranger, encouraging a colleague, learning something new, taking care of your health, your space, your mindset. Each one builds not just progress, but emotional strength. Because when your actions are guided by intention, even your failures become meaningful. Even setbacks feel like steps forward. You're not just surviving the day, you're shaping it with clarity and calm. Here's a simple practice. Before checking your phone in the morning, take 60 seconds. Close your eyes, ask, what kind of person do I want to be today? Then, what's one small thing I can do to live like that? That's your purpose for the day. Write it down. Keep it visible. Return to it when things feel scattered. It will center you. Because here's the truth. A clear purpose doesn't just help you get things done. It helps you feel alive while doing them. And over time, those little daily purposes stack up. They build a life that feels steady, honest, and fulfilling. Not because it's perfect, but because it's intentional. So don't chase productivity. Chase purpose. Choose one thing today that aligns with your deeper self and do it with care. That's where emotional strength lives, not in doing more, but in doing what truly matters. The power of consistency. So let's come back to where we began. In a world full of noise, pressure, and emotional overload, it's easy to believe that strength means controlling everything. That if we can just hold it all together, we'll be okay. But here's the truth the Stoics taught thousands of years ago, and modern life keeps reminding us. Emotional strength isn't about control. It's about response. It's about how you choose to meet what shows up. It's about showing up again and again with presence, with clarity, with intention. You don't have to be unshakable. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to build the kind of habits that guide you home to yourself, even when life feels chaotic. Think back on the 10 habits we've explored. They're not quick hacks. They're not Instagram quotes. They're quiet disciplines. Daily choices. Ways of living that help you show up as the strongest version of yourself, not by force, but by alignment. Whether it's pausing before you react, choosing what to focus on, or simply taking a moment each night to reflect and reset. These practices aren't about being perfect. They're about being consistent, because that's where the real transformation happens. Not in a dramatic breakthrough, but in the small, repeated moments of awareness. The moments where you choose your values over your impulses, wisdom over reaction, peace over chaos. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That quote isn't just poetic. It's practical. It's the foundation for everything you want to build. Resilience, clarity, calm, confidence. So if this video speaks to you, don't try to apply all 10 habits at once. Don't overwhelm yourself with self-improvement. Choose one habit that resonates with your current season of life. Maybe it's setting a daily intention. Maybe it's learning to let go. Maybe it's protecting your emotional boundaries. Whatever it is, commit to it. For this week, just 7 days, show up for yourself gently but consistently. Because the power isn't in knowing what to do. It's in doing it quietly, persistently, and with heart. This is how you become emotionally strong, not by being unaffected, but by becoming deeply rooted. So that no matter what life throws your way, you don't lose yourself. And that, my friend, is true power. So now the question is, which habit will you start tomorrow? Type it in the comments below, and let's grow together, one inner victory at a time. Until next time, stay intentional, stay grounded, and stay on your path. You've got this, and we're right here walking beside you. You've got this, and we're here walking alongside you.